So greetings, everyone. On behalf of the Wilmington Center for Education, Equity, and Policy, I'm Ray Jones Avery. We are co-led by Lynn Howard and our advisors, Tamara Smith of Teach for America, Delaware, James Simmons of the Office of Innovation and Equity in the Delaware Department of Education, Dr. Shelley Rouser, the chair of the Education Department at Delaware State University, and Jennifer Tompkins, the president and CEO of the Metropolitan Wilmington Urban League. We are really thankful to each of you, Delaware State Housing Authority, Cross Country Mortgage, and Interfaith Community Housing of Delaware presenters for this very, very important webinar. I'm really excited. Our mission at the Wilmington Center is to ensure that each student and school personnel that takes care of and teaches our students in the city of Wilmington and throughout our state has access to top-notch services to be successful. We prioritize research, community engagement, and advocacy, and information sharing is at the heart of advocacy. Over the last couple of years, we've been really focusing on strategies to retain quality personnel in our schools. As you all know, this is a national problem. And the lived conditions inside and outside of the school in our ecosystem really matter. We all know that affordable housing is a key need in the ecosystem, and school personnel need affordable housing as well. I imagine that we'll have a range of people join us, and you all will share relevant information, but we're really focused on sharing information with everyone, and school employees in particular. So we're delighted to have our presenters share this timely information and relevant information on home buying assistance. And so I will turn it over at this time.
I'm going to go first. I'm Eileen Palmer with Delaware State Housing Authority, and we are the housing finance agency. We do mortgage programs here at Delaware State. Delaware State Housing Authority. We do them with and without down payment assistance programs. And that is our website right there for the public is kissyourlandlordgoodbye.com. The mission statement of Delaware Housing Authority is to efficiently provide and assist others to provide quality and affordable housing opportunities to appropriate supportive services to low and moderate income Delawareans. Our home ownership loan programs, we have two categories, and the programs are available in both categories. We have Welcome Home, which is for your first-time home buyer, and we have Home Again, which is for your repeat buyer or someone that doesn't qualify income-wise for Welcome Home. And we have under there, we have a Smart Start, Home Sweet Home, Delaware Diamonds, and First State. Welcome Home. You must be a first-time home buyer. You cannot use the Delaware first-time home buyer tax credit with our Welcome Home programs, and there are income and sales price limits. Home Again is our first-time and repeat buyers are eligible. The Delaware first-time home buyer tax credit can be used if you're a first-time home buyer and meet the income limits. And there's income and sales limits. So our Smart Start program is a first mortgage without any down payment or closing cost assistance. The rates right now under Welcome Home start at 5.5%, which is fabulous. The Smart Start Home program is available for Welcome Home and Home Again, and it's available for conventional and government loans, VA, USDA, and FHA. Here are our Home Sweet Home and Delaware Diamonds. These programs are available for a limited time period. Once the funds run out on these, the programs will end, but they're fabulous right now. Home Sweet Home, and all of our programs benefit buyers in Delaware. You have to buy a home in Delaware. And Home Sweet Home, it's a $12,000 down payment and closing cost assistance. The second mortgage is 0% interest. And the maximum sales price is $285,000. Then we have your Delaware Diamonds, which gives you a $10,000 down payment and closing cost assistance, and that is for eligible professions. I will go over that shortly. It also is 0 interest on the second loan, and the maximum sale price is county specific. So these two programs are forgivable loans. That's what makes them so great. Each year, the homeowner resides in the property as their primary residence. The loan balance decreases by 10% per year up to 10 years. After 10 years, the loan is forgiven as long as you've stayed in the subject property as your primary residence and have not refinanced. The eligible professions for our Delaware Diamonds is medical personnel employed at Christiana Care, Bay Health, BB, St. Francis, VA Hospital, Nemours. All of our employers must be in Delaware. We also do first responders. It could be firefighter, EMT, police, all first responders, active military, and also veterans that have a DD 214 with anything other than dishonorable discharge. It's available for Delaware State employees, DSHA employees, private and public school employees as well. And the employer must be in Delaware. Our first state home loan is a 0 interest second lien. It's available for Welcome Home, which is your first time home buyer, or Home Again for a repeat buyer or somebody that didn't qualify income-wise for Welcome Home. It has a 3 or a 4% down payment and closing cost assistance calculated using the final loan amount. On this loan, the principal is deferred until the following events: refinance, sale, transfer of title, or the property is no longer the borrower's primary resident, whichever comes first. Here's our Welcome Home, which is your first-time home buyer. Income limits. We go off household income. So everybody in the household that's ages 18 and older, we do look at their income. And you'll see, I'm not going to read them out, but you can see the income limits here for 1 to 2 people in the family or 3 or more people. And when I say that, it could be mom, dad, and a child. That would be 3 people in the household. Our Home Again income limits are a little higher, which you'll see. We'll just use Newcastle County, 1 to 2 people in the family is $137,280. On Welcome Home, it's $111,600. Home Again is for repeat buyers and buyers that didn't qualify income-wise on the Welcome Home. Our Welcome Home and Home Again sales price limits. In Newcastle County, the sales price limit is $539,250. Kenton, Sussex County, it's $481,176. Okay, our Home Sweet Home program is the only program that we limit the sales price, and that is limited at $285. And the Home Sweet Home program is the program that has the $12,000 down payment and closing cost assistance. Credit score information. DSHA does require a minimum credit score of 620. However, if your score is 659 or lower, we require you to go to one of our approved housing counselors and work with them. So, and even if your score is below 620, work with an approved counselor, and they can be found at kissyourlandlordgoodbye.com. Credit counselors, they assist you on proving your credit score. They guide you to the process of home ownership. Home ownership is possible. Here's our success stories. We have Nina Alexander. She used Delaware Diamonds Home Loan. She used this program last year. We kind of changed the parameters a little bit, but she was a registered nurse at Johns Hopkins, and she was a first-time home buyer. We have Hector Pina Donna, first-time home buyer. He used Home Sweet Home. He went to credit counseling with the Neighbor Good Partners. worked with him on his finances and his credit score. He came to the United States from Venezuela in 2017, and he contacted a Spanish-speaking loan officer. I do want to say that on our website, we have a little drop down that is in 14 different languages. And we have Grace Scales. She used our Home Sweet Home Loan program, and she was a repeat buyer. How do you get started? Go to the Kiss Your Landlord Goodbye website, look over our programs, income limits. Then you can find an approved lender, give them a call, let them know you're looking for a DSHA mortgage program. And once again, if your credit score is 659 or below, please contact one of our approved counselors. Your mortgage lender can also guide you towards the site. Once approved with a lender, find a realtor and start your house shopping. There is our website, kissyourlandlordgoodbye.com. And this is my contact information. Oops. I am Eileen Palmer, Business Development Lender Specialist. My email is eileen.palmer@delaware.gov. Feel free to shoot me an email. And I'd like to open it up quickly if anyone has any questions on what I presented. Let's see, we have something in the chat. No, no questions. All right, I will stop sharing, and I guess it's Joseph. Or who's next?
Me.
Tracy, I'm going to stop sharing. Thank you.
Okay, so good evening.
Just one thing. Somebody asked, is this only for homes in Delaware? Yes, it is. If you live in another state, look up their HFA. So PA has one, it would PA HFA. So look up Florida HFA. So most states have HFAs. All of our participants do have credit score. Do all participants have to have? So only the borrowers that are on the loan must have a credit score of 620 or higher. That's very good. Not everyone in the household, just whoever is on the mortgage. Are these available on new construction? We don't do construction loans, if that is your question. Take it away, Tracy.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me. My name is Tracy Spriggs. I work with Interfaith Community Housing of Delaware. And Elaine was, referencing the Housing Counseling Agency. And we are one of those. So you have to look far. I'm right here on the call. So there's that. We are statewide. We have an office in the city of Wilmington on Washington Street, and we have an office in Dover at the Wilmington Center on Lockerman. I have an awesome team at Interfaith Community Housing of Delaware. I have Elisa Howard, Rosa, Maria, Erica, and Eva. I have 3 bilingual counselors. So, we offer our services in English and in Spanish. We also are called generalists. So we offer first-time homebuyers counseling, and we also offer foreclosure prevention counseling. I always mention that just in case anyone's going through that, and someone who's going through foreclosure. This is a free service, and we are willing to help it without any fee. No one should be charging for foreclosure prevention, so I just put that in there. We have several lines of business. We have group education, pre-purchase counseling, foreclosure prevention counseling, financial education, and we also have a Stand By Me representative, and I'll kind of get into that in a minute. But we offer all types of group education. We have in-person, we have Zoom, and we have online. So we have a different variety, however you feel like you can learn best. We try to accommodate, and we are always available. What is housing counseling? A lot of people have not even heard of housing counseling before, and I realize that. But the definition is basically is defined as a service that is provided by one-on-one individual sessions with a professional who helps families work through their housing related programs. All that says is I tell people that housing counselors are like having a best friend that knows the process, and kind of gives you some guidance along the way. So who doesn't want like a bestie going through the process with you, has no financial, gain at all, just to give you great advice and for informational purposes only, right? So there's that. Our purpose is to tailor our services to wherever that person is, to get you through any kind of barriers that you might have along the way of buying your house. So rather it's like savings, income, your budget, your debt to income ratio, whatever it is, we will try to work through those barriers with you, to get you mortgage ready. So that's what we do. You can have 3 sessions, you can have 55 sessions. It does not matter. We are with that person from beginning all the way until they go to closing, if you allow us to be. The number one question people ask us is, if y'all wasn't muted, I'm sure you all know the answer. But the number one question people ask us is, how long is it going to take me to buy a house? The number one question. And I'm like, it really depends on, your drive and how dedicated you are. If somebody comes in our office and they are, disciplined, they're like, I am going to get a house in 8 months, and it doesn't matter what I need to do, I'm going to make it work. We know that they're focused. I had a great client. She worked with us for 3 years. We ate lunch together, we talked, we bonded, but she wasn't that ready. So, it took her 3 years. She did get a house, but, we have to tailor, to whatever the person wants. So just know that once you come through us, once you are locked in, you're locked in. As long as you're active, we will stay with you. Okay. Um, a typical counseling session would be where we will gather all your information, your bank statements, your taxes, your pay stubs. Um, we gather all that, your credit report, and we get a very good financial overview of where you're at, and then we'll identify your barriers. Meaning, like I said, is it you have too much debt, or you need to work on your credit. We just kind of morph you into this perfect little ball, and then we kind of pass you along to a loan officer, a realtor, a home inspector. We just will kind of guide you through your team. Again, we work with everybody. We won't say, you have to use this person, you have to use this person. Everybody has a cousin, a friend, a coworker that said, use this person. But we will kind of say, are you sure? Because based on your information, this might be a better fit for you. But again, we're only there for advice. But that's what a counseling session would do. We will kind of go step by step, and we'll tell her, your sessions. And then once you leave our session, you will get an action plan. And that action plan will kind of guide you through the process as well. We go over, the advantages and disadvantages of buying a house. Everything is not always, birds chirping and sunshine. You have to be realistic when you are buying a house. Is this something that you really want? I feel like it's an advantage, but some people, might say it's a disadvantage just because, for example, you can't move very easily, like you can with a lease. Every 2 years, you might be able to have an option to move, or, so that could be something we will discuss to see if homeownership is, for you. Some of the hurdles I said before: income, savings, credit, high debt. We work with you to make that all beautiful. Yes. The biggest thing we go over is budgeting. That's very, very important. That's our foundation. We go over identifying income, expenses. We set goals. We set a realistic budget. We track the budget. And it sounds very basic, but if you have never really done a budget and tracked the budget, it could be a little daunting. But remember, you have a bestie that's going through the process with you, and we're going to kind of work through it. I tell people that every Friday night, for some reason, my stove does not work and I have to order out. That's like my thing, right? So if somebody were to say, you could never, order out on a Friday, it's not going to happen. Forget about it. But if somebody said, Tracy, how about every other Friday? I can do that. So, we have to be realistic. I know a lot of ladies get their hair done, nails, you have to look good. I mean, whatever. So we just try to tailor everything to what works for you to home ownership. Okay. We also have a Stand By Me coach. I just wanted to mention that Stand By Me, we have a Stand By Me home coach. What she does is also just work really diligently on preparing credit. And she meets with people every single month. She's definitely a little bit more intense when it comes to, her sessions is every month. You might not feel like you need every month. It could be every other month. But it's just nice to have someone who her total focus is savings and credit repair. So it's just nice to have that little, person in your arsenal. Also, when we go over your budget, just want to come back to that really quickly. We also go over your needs versus wants. Might sound very easy, but if you've never done a budget, then identifying your needs versus your wants can be daunting, especially if you have a family, because your kids will say it's a need and you might say it's not a need, it's a want. So, or vice versa. So we kind of find that to be interesting as well. And how do you get started with us? Really just give us a call. And we will kind of set you up with either orientation. Orientation can be just we do it every month. It's from 6 to 7 as well through Zoom. It's an hour long. It's free. We can kind of go more, a little deeper into our overview of our services. But that's how you can get started. And then that's it. So hope I didn't talk too fast. I'm not trying to sell you anything. It's just a really bad habit. And that's all I have. Are there any questions for me? I know we have a question and answer at the end, but.
If you want your contact info, can you drop it in the chat maybe?
I can. Now I'm on my phone, but I will definitely try my best.
Or I can type it in. I can type in your email.
Oh, okay.
And we had a couple questions on the mortgage, DSHA. Somebody said they're a nurse in PA. Do I have to work in Delaware before I can qualify? For Delaware Diamonds, your employer has to be in Delaware, but don't let that discourage you. We have so many other programs. That's just one little piece. And I always say to someone, if you're buying a $400,000 house and we're giving you a 3% down payment assistance, there's $12,000 right there. And we don't recommend any lenders on our website. If they're on there, they are approved partners and do a good job. And we'll let, is that taken away? I guess. Or if anyone has questions for Tracy.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jose Perez. I am a mortgage lender with Cross Country Mortgage, approved mortgage lender through DSHA. I want to go over my process to help you get pre-approved and what exactly a pre-approval is. It's a big step in the process of buying a home. Elaine, could I share my screen?
View the availability
Let me see.
up top, right next to the leave button.
Oh no, I don't. I could just read off of it. It's okay.
Wonder if Laurie, can you give access?
I'm not able to, no, but we can send it out via email afterwards.
Okay.
If you want, did you want to email it to me real quick and I'll pull it up? It's up to you.
There's no big. I could just read off of it. It's fine.
Okay.
So first off, I wanted to start off by saying what is a pre-approval? A pre-approval is the to identify credit worthiness and ability to borrow, reviews income, credit, and assets, determines your buying power and loan options, verification by documents provided. Also, just clear up any confusion, is a difference between a pre-qualification and a pre-approval. You always want to get a pre-approval because that's when a lender verifies all your documentation versus just what you stated on the application. When you have a pre-approval, it helps you present a stronger offer when you find a home. Documents needed for a pre-approval. Here you go. Income docs for W-2 employees. We will need 30 days worth of pay stubs. So if you're paid semi-monthly is 2. If you're paid bi-weekly, if you're paid bi-monthly, if you're paid every other week, it's last 3. If you're paid weekly, is the last 4 pay stubs. If you're in the transition between jobs where you're getting a new job, we could take that offer letter that states what your income is going to be, your start date, and whether or not you're full-time as documentation as well. So don't let you being in a transition point of going from your job that you currently have to a new job. If you're a 1099 employee, we will need the most recent 2 years 1099s, most recent 2 years tax returns, and the same for pay stubs. If you're semi-monthly, the last 2. If you're every other week, last 3. And if you're weekly, the last 4. Same rules apply for if you're a 1099 employee going to another job, we would just need the offer letter. Fixed income. So if you're like on Social Security, if you have a pension, if you're retired, we would need those award letters. If you are receiving income for foster care, verification letter, and payment statements. Alimony, we would need child support. Alimony or child support, we would just need court order documentation. If it's not court ordered, we would just need proof that you've been receiving it for the last 2 years and that some type of agreement that will continue. Bank statements needed for each showing income going into the account if it's for fixed income. If you're self-employed, we would need business and personal tax returns, most recent 2 years filed, all schedules, all pages. Profit and loss statements for current year, and bank statements showing income. Additional documents needed. Bank statements for the last 2 months, all pages. Retirement accounts we could also use to show assets. That will be your last 2 statements, all pages as well. A copy of your driver's license, and also a copy of your homebuyer counseling certificate, which your homebuyer counselor could help you obtain. We'd like to go over the loan programs like FHA, conventional, USDA, and VA, and the difference between them. So I'm gonna start off with FHA. FHA is the most flexible credit and income guidelines than conventional. They have a 3.5% down payment with a credit score minimum of 580. You could go as low as a 500, but that you would need 10% down versus the 3.5% down. And you also have mortgage insurance. That's on the life of the loan. Then we have the VA loan program, which is 100% financing, meaning no down payment is required. Credit as low as 580, and no PMI on that loan program, and that's for active and retired military. We got the third program loan product is USDA, and that's for rural areas, which is also 100% financing, meaning no down payment. Only available in rural areas. The way we determine if it's a rural area or not is if it's a home that you're interested in, you'll give me the address, or you can put the address in on their website, and it'll tell you if it's USDA approved. Credit minimum is a 640 on that one. They do have more PMI, but it's very low. A lot of questions I get as far as the loan process. So the loan process typically goes like this. For me, what I usually do with my clients is I have a initial consultation. I ask you a few questions based off, to find out your income, whether you're self-employed, whether you're a W-2 employee, whether you're a 1099 employee. But what I'm trying to figure out is pretty much what in that first initial conversation is like, what is the ideal situation for you? I typically ask my clients, what is your ideal monthly payment? Because it's usually a big difference between what's your ideal monthly payment, what you're comfortable paying monthly, and with what you can afford. So we try to figure out those two things when you apply. Once you apply, I typically do just a soft pull. If that's a question in the chat, I'll do a soft pull first on your credit versus a hard pull, so we can see where you're at. And then within 24 to 48 hours, we have another phone call where I update you on what your income, your credit, your borrower eligibility looks like. And then we go forward with the pre-approval process. Once you're pre-approved, that's when you get with your realtor and you can start shopping for a home, and you submit an offer on the home that you find a home that you like, you submit an offer on the home that you like. Once you submit an offer, that's when me and your realtor starts to work together and get you in the loan process and get you started on the process of getting the keys to your home. That process is pretty much getting an appraisal ordered. Your realtor will help you with getting home inspections, things of that nature. Once we get to getting you appraised, your home appraised and everything, I submit you to the underwriter for final for initial approval, which we call conditional approval. What the underwriter then does, he or she comes back and says, all right, this loan is conditionally approved. We just need to fill these last conditions. It could be something as small as your most current pay stubs, because you might have been shopping for a home for 3 months and I only have the first 6 weeks pay stub, so I might need the most current ones. You need to get homeowners insurance started, just like when you buy a car, you need to get auto insurance started when you buy a car, things of that nature. Once we fill those conditions, I resubmit it to the underwriter for a final approval, which you may also hear as a clear to close. Once we get that clear to close, that's your final approval, and we're just waiting to go to your scheduled date to collect your keys and sign documentation for you to gain access to your home. And that's pretty much the loan process. Is there any questions?
Somebody did have a question on who determines who is eligible for a VA loan? Would a DD 214 just need to be submitted?
So a DD 214, and then you also get a C. We also filed to get you a COE, which is a certificate of eligibility.
And then somebody wanted to know if they had to pay taxes on the sale of their home if they're over 65. That I don't know, and I didn't want to ignore your question there. How much should you have saved for down payment and settlement cost?
Well, that's the great thing about what we're the conversations we're having right now. I would typically tell people, for easy math, I would say 10%, but when you start to factor in DSHA's down payment assistance program, that number dwindles down very fast. Because you figure, like, let's say if you're buying a $285,000 home, and I told you 10% just to be on the safe side, you know, that's 28,000, right? But if you're getting 12,000 down payment assistance from the state, that brings you down to 16. You also have other credits that you could get as far as being a first-time home buyer. You get transfer tax credits most times when you're buying a home in the state of Delaware. So that 16 could turn into 12. And then sometimes you get settlement assistance from the sellers. So I've seen it where, you know, people move in a home with less than it may cost you to rent a home. I mean, you figure a landlord most times charge you first, last, and security to rent a home. If the rent is $2,000, that's $6,000. I've seen people get into homes for $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 out of their pocket. So that, like I said, that's kind of a loaded question, but I feel like on the safe side, if you always have 10%, you definitely should be able to get the home that you're looking for. But like I said, take advantage of these programs that Delaware State Housing Authority has.
Right. And some people have been able to get into their home with very little money.
Yes.
Right? The seller does seller concession with our down payment and closing cost assistance. How long does the pre-approval last?
Pre-approval lasts 90, I tell people 90 days, because what happens is your pre-approval it coincides with your credit report. When I pull your credit, it's good for 120 days. So that means that we have to get you closed within that 120-day time frame, or I will have to re-pull your credit again. So, you know, it could be a time, depending on how fast you are with documentation, and you find a home where, let's say on that 91st day you find a home, we make it still close in that 29 days and stay within that time frame. So be on the safe side to answer that question. The pre-approval is good for 90 days, but we can go a little over depending on the circumstance.
And we have, do you know the current interest rate? And I can tell people, if you go to kissyourlandlordgoodbye.com, we have our loan programs there with our rates posted, and you will see. And I just want to let you know, our definition of a first-time home buyer is someone who has not had ownership interest in their primary residence in the last 3 years. So that is DSHA's definition of a first-time home buyer. For a repeat buyer, if current home is used as collateral to buy a new home, does the home have to be sold first before starting the process?
One more, hold on. Say that again, Ollie. I'm sorry.
Well, for a repeat buyer, if the current home is used as collateral to buy a new home, does the home have to be sold first before starting the process? I'm not sure how it would be used as collateral to buy a
Right,
new
that's what I was
home.
about to say. Do you mean like the assets, like the proceeds being made from the home that you're selling? Is that what you're asking when you say collateral?
That would be Ray's question. Do you want to elaborate on that, Ray?
Yes, the
Yeah.
proceeds from the sale.
Yes, so the proceeds from the sale. So typically, yes, for you to have the proceeds, that house would need to be closed on. But what we could do, we could still move forward with the pre-approval based off of certain information. Like, so let, give you an example, right? Let's say if you're selling your home, and me and you could talk about what your net proceeds would potentially look like. If we find out your net proceeds is going to be, let's say, $50,000, right? I like to be conservative, so I would put you down for like maybe 40 and work with that because things come up, right? I have a situation where right now I'm dealing with someone that they didn't know that they inherited a home and they didn't know that their father had unpaid taxes on that home. So we went conservative, and luckily we did because they owed like, $13,000 in back taxes on that home. So we never want to like max you out on those proceeds for that reason. And then also because of the simple fact, let's be honest, who wants to sell a house and walk away with $50,000 just to use that entire $50,000 if they don't have to, right? We want to, if when you become a first time or second time home buyer, you want to move into a home with some assets left in your bank account. So we would look at that as well. But to answer your question, yes, we could still move forward in that process, but we would need the house would definitely need to be sold. But we could close literally your house. You could sell that house Thursday this week, close on the house, the sell of that house, and we could be closing and schedule where we're closing Thursday afternoon on you buying your house or Friday the next day. So that's something we could definitely work around.
Um, do you get down payment assistance if you're a repeat buyer? Yes, you do. And you can see that under Home Again on kissyourlandlordgoodbye.com. Doris has a question. Thank you for the DSHA interest rates, but is that applicable for the loan with the lender, or are they the same? The interest rates you see on our website are what the lender will offer you if you're using a DSHA mortgage program. Somebody wanted to know if they could request to work with you specifically. That is Harmony. Yes, absolutely. You can request. You can call cross country. We're going to put Yosef's information here and you can work with him.
I'm putting it in the chat right now.
Do you guys help with the USDA loan application, Yosef?
Yes, we do.
All right. Oh, our questions are so good. I love it.
Did you answer the one, do you get down payment assistance if you are a repeat buyer?
Yes, I did. And yes, we do. That would be under the Home Again on our kissyourlandlordgoodbye.com.
And that cell phone number right there is my direct cell phone number as well.
Right.
Waiting for any more questions. I also just wanted to add too, when people ask, how much does it cost or it's going to cost me for down payment and settlement assistance. As a housing counselor, we also recommend you have at least 3 to 6 months of reserves because we also do a foreclosure prevention counseling. And the number one thing we noticed, people who are going into foreclosure is that they didn't have any type of budget or any reserves when they were buying the house. So it's so important to, definitely save up for the down payment, but also keep that in mind that you definitely don't want to go in with your last penny because, God forbid something were to happen, you're out there. So we just want to make sure that, like again, that foundation is built before you even go into home ownership. Because
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah,
And then
absolutely.
When you do your mortgage pre-qualification, you guys go off your gross income, which is completely fine. But we work off of net for counselors because that was really important that you said that, because I like that you said we care about, how much you're actually bringing home. If you have 2 kids in daycare, even if you go off your gross, you might qualify for this, but should you take that full amount?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Tracy. And that's what, like I said in the beginning, why I always ask that question. That's one of my most important questions I ask is like, what is your comfortability? You know what I mean? Because like I said, just because on paper you could afford or get approved, I should say, for a $300,000 house, that doesn't mean that you're comfortable or you should be buying the $300,000 house. The other thing I wanted to say that Tracy alluded to, and I'm glad you brought it up, Tracy, is when it comes to reserves as well, what a lot of first-time home buyers don't know, and I always recommend when you, especially with your job, put money into your 401k. You'll be surprised how many times I see employees that don't put money up for retirement, because what happens is that's another form of savings where like Tracy said, 6 months reserves. You can have 6 months reserves in your 401k through over the years, and I could use that as reserves. But that doesn't mean that you have to withdraw either. All I would need is your assets, your bank, I'm sorry, your 401k statement showing what your balance is. And a lot of times that's sufficient enough.
It's fabulous. I do want to remind everyone that our Delaware Diamonds and Home Sweet Home programs are temporary, but we still have we'll still have programs. We'll always have mortgage programs here at DSHA. Any further questions? For the USDA loan, which one do you offer, the guarantee or the direct loan?
That's I'm assuming that's for me.
Yes.
I really don't understand the question, to be honest. Could you elaborate, please?
It was in the chat.
Well, USDA, you can, it's a direct loan, like you go straight to USDA, put the application in, or you can go through a lender, and typically it's like an 80-20. But what I can say for USDA, there is Neighborhood Partners. They just do packaging for USDA loans. So, and that is for the 100% financing. So I do know that we counsel people on the onset, and then what we partnered with Neighborhood Partners. Let me see my face here. We partner with Neighborhood Partners. So, for instance, if you want to go directly to USDA, we would we go over your income and things like that. And once you meet all the qualifications, we will do a USDA comparison versus conventional. And then if you still choose to go to USDA, we will then give you to Neighborhood Partners, and they will kind of take you on from there. But I do know that USDA Direct is roughly around an 18-month delay. Minimum of 18-month delay, so that is a little bit of a wait to it. But because it's subsidized, some people want to wait because they can get down to a 1%, 2%, 3% interest rate based on your income. But just know that there is a delay for that, for direct.
Great answer. Thank you, Tracy.
No
I
problem.
also have, when you're on Section 8 through Wilmington Housing Authority, do they still have the program to help with purchasing a home? Does anyone know that question?
They do have a program. The city of Wilmington just came out very recently with that that program, and my understanding is still there, is available. I don't remember the exact requirements for that, but I do know that is an active program.
Thank you.
No problem.
I know someone had a question about, I think that we missed further up, that someone had a question about when he was asking about construction. He wasn't asking about the build a home. He was asking about like in the development. Do you want me to answer that, Elaine, or do you want to?
Oh, please do.
So
Explain.
yes, you can use DSHA for new construction homes inside of development, but I've closed a few new development, but just to be as transparent as possible, the risk you run is, for instance, like it takes sometimes depends on how long it takes to build a home. If it's going to be a 6-month build, you might miss out on some of these programs, just to be as honest as possible with you. You know what I mean? Like Elaine said, you still it's still going to be some programs left, but we don't know what those programs are. 6 months going to be 6 months from now, but it can be done. To answer your question, yes.
Brand new construction, ready to move in. Sign it.
Yeah,
Sign it,
like
call Joseph, and let's go.
right. I've done one that was like a 60-day turnaround, and that was smooth and it was great. But I've also been in a situation where it was supposed to be a 60-day turnaround, and the builder took 9 months, and our buyer who started shopping with a 6% interest rate ended up settling on a home the end of the year when rates were 8%. So you just gotta, it's pros and cons to it. That's all.
I have a question. How long will the Diamond program be available? That we don't know when the money runs out. It's going to be around for a couple months, I would say. That would be my educated guess. If you state FHA is most flexible, 3.5% down and as low as a 500 credit score, is that correct? Well, you can do FHA down to a 500 credit score. However, you won't be able to use DSHA down payment assistance programs because we do require a minimum of 620 credit score.
Yes. Yes, and to add on to that, yes, so it's a minimum for the FHA loan product is a minimum of 580. That's 3.5% down. And if you go as low as 500, between 500 and 579, that's 10% down. But remember, like she just said, like Elaine just said, you can't use the DSHA because you're under that 620 credit score minimum. And just to be as upfront as possible and transparent as possible, I advise everyone to try to be at a 620 anyway, even if we weren't using DSHA, because the rates and terms under a 620 are is not setting you up for success in my professional opinion.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, take advantage of the resources. Go to Interfaith, contact Tracy, contact Joseph. If you have any questions, definitely get a hold of Delaware State Housing Authority. We really appreciate everybody attending. These questions are fabulous. I don't know if anyone else has anything to say. Ray wants to come to your housewarming party, so I want to go too. We want an invite in the next 6 months.
Yes. I love barbecues.
I just like a nice housewarming party. It's just so heartwarming, right?
Yes.
Is there a better time to buy? You know, somebody once told me nothing is cheaper than it is today. And there's a lot of truth in that.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, thank you.
And the
Thank you for
seasons don't affect the interest rates too.
Yeah, definitely not. All right. Well, any programs for government employees similar to Delaware Diamonds? Well, if you're looking for a house under 285 or less, you have the Home Sweet Home. That's a $12,000 down payment and closing cost assistance. We always have the 3%. The only program you have to be profession specific is Delaware Diamonds. That is the only one. So we have so many good programs. All right. You're welcome. Everyone that said thank you. You're very much welcome.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much to each of you on behalf of the Wilmington Center for Education, Equity, and Policy. Again, this session was recorded if you, depending upon what time you came in, and you can follow the thread of the questions and responses in the chat as well as the video. How will you post the video to your website, or how will people be able to watch the recording?
We will send out a link probably early next week, as well as with the contact information from all the speakers and the PowerPoint presentations.
Awesome. Okay, I think we're good. You got
I
1
think
minute
we-
to spare.
Wow, we did it good. Oh, you know what? So many thank yous on this. It's so appreciative to get all the thank yous.